What's up, guys? Welcome to the Unbranded Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Mike DiStefano, where we discuss anything and everything about leadership that can help you on your journey. So, on today's episode, we're going to interview Jared Vermeulen of Boca Raton Fire Rescue. So, Jared's a captain with Boca Raton, where he has served for 17 years. Jared specializes in hazardous materials, rope rescue, trench rescue, confined space, and heavy extrication as a part of the department's regional hazmat team for Boca Raton and Palm Beach County. Jared is the author of the book, The Modern Fire Officer, which is intended to help officers create and motivate hardworking, healthy crews and prepare for the many challenges that they face while providing top-notch internal and external customer service. I actually had the pleasure of reading this book about 2 months ago, and I gotta say, it is actually a very, very good book in a genre that has a lot of leadership books in it, but not necessarily specifically to the fire officer. He also has the ability to touch on a lot of leadership aspects instead of just the typical tactics and strategies and everything like that. So, very good book. Very, very excited about this interview. So, without any further ado, let's get to the interview.
So, Jared, let's start with your background first as a captain, and what specifically has helped you grow in your leadership journey.
Really being observant like all the time, right? Trying to learn from every single thing. And I kind of queued that up when we talked before about some of the questions or some of the topics we could think about. And that's like developing your gut. And a lot of that comes from being observant, like just trying to learn from every moment that you're running calls, you're at the firehouse, there's plenty of stuff to learn. And when you can not just observe different situations and calls you're on, but learn from them, think about them after, and then you have that body of knowledge that's in there, that you're ready to draw from, and it gives you a little bit of street cred, right? Helps you build a rapport because when you're observant, you notice things about people, and people notice that you're taking a vested interest, that you're interested in what's going on, around the station, going on around their lives. And then you can use that for feedback too. So like if you're talking to your crew, you can say, hey, you know what, I heard you were doing this thing. That's awesome. I'm really into, something that's similar, blah, blah, blah. It's a great way to make connections with the people you work with, but also too, just to learn, because everything, as you know, is a learning experience. And when you're in that role of being in charge, you got to have a lot to draw from, and you got to be comfortable with the people that you're with, that you've hopefully trained well, so you can draw from them too, right? Because we're all in this thing together. It's a team effort. You're the one leading the team, but it's a team effort. And I really think that that's what's helped me a lot in my captain journey, is just really trying to pay attention, and kind of develop my body of knowledge that way, and try to stay humble. That's the other big thing, because if you're not humble, then you won't learn, right? You'll think you know it all already.
So, I want to touch on something that you mentioned there about developing your gut and that gut instinct. When did you start realizing or start being more intentional with developing that instinct? I mean, obviously, we get it as we start gaining experience and everything like that. But when did you start really developing it, and how did you kind of intentionally build that?
So I've always been pretty like observant, even before being a firefighter, and just I don't know, just I guess maybe just pure curiosity. I
Hmm.
love to learn that kind of thing. So it's just how the brain works, right? It categorizes everything, right? Your subconscious is constantly putting these similarities together, these patterns, right? These go together, these go together, these things are similar, right? And the more that we think or we observe, and then we actually think upon what we observed, right? The more our subconscious can really use those things. So I started noticing that different patterns and stuff kind of get like a gut feeling, right? Even when I was younger, like I'll get like a gut feeling, like, man, and I really think that's your subconscious pulling from information you've already fed it, telling you, hey, you've seen this before, or you've seen something pretty dang similar. You might want to pay attention, to what I'm telling you. You get that feeling, you're like, maybe I'll pay attention. And 9 times out of 10, almost maybe even more than that, 99.9% out of 100, right? I didn't listen to that gut feeling, man, I paid the price. So I really started thinking about that. Like, man, if I ignore this thing, I'm in trouble, right? But I got to feed it correctly. So I got to be able to make sure I'm feeding that subconscious, right, all the time. Learning from situations, thinking about different situations that have happened, putting myself in those situations. Like if I don't quite understand why someone would do that, or I try to put myself in there. Okay, what would make me act that way? Okay, yeah, X and Y. That would probably make me act that way. Like if I lost this, or if this happened to me, or whatever, I'd probably act just like that. Maybe worse. I don't know. So when you're doing that, right, you're constantly gaining, I think, a more refined perspective on different situations, and you're learning, but you're also feeding that subconscious. So, and then that subconscious helps you and it feeds you back when you're down and dirty. You're on a call. You're doing something. Your back's against the wall. You got to think quick. That subconscious, man, it's going to come back and it's going to say, "Hey, you've been here before. It may not look exactly like that, but you gave me this information a few years back and this was the outcome." It'll start making those connections, putting those things together for you. And it's crazy how quick it is too. And it'll come in your mind, be like, all right, I know where we're going here. We're going to do this, and think about that gut. So it's definitely not something maybe everyone just has. I think it's definitely something everyone can develop though. The more that you are paying attention, not just observing, different things in life, but also learning from it, thinking about it later, and then using empathy too to kind of bring it back to you. And really, I mean, that's why generalities are usually correct, because they're just patterns, right? That we kind of pick out, and that's really what your subconscious does for you, and that gut feeling. Listen to it, you know, let it pay you back for all that work you've done, you know.
I like something that you said there too, because going through incident command training, we talk about this a lot with obviously the fire service doesn't run fires as much as it used to. So gaining experience of incident command, gaining experience of being that first due officer or anything like that, we're able to simulate that and kind of create that picture in our mind. And then when we actually run that call, that's where our brain goes to, and that Rolodex in our mind. Oh, I've seen this before. It may have been on a computer screen, but I know what I'm supposed to do right now. And I love that you related that back to leadership and personnel issues and just how you take care of your crew. That's phenomenal. I absolutely love that. The other thing you touched on as well was those connections that you make with your crew, specifically, observing how they tick, and then keeping that in mind of how to make those valid connections. I read a book recently. I cannot remember the name of this to save my life, but it talked about not only like connecting dots, but also collecting the dots and collecting all of them together, and then seeing how to connect them through. And I think you kind of started speaking on that a little bit with building those relationships. How important are those relationships with your guys and your crew members when you're not only becoming a leader at first, when you're taking on a ranked position at first, but also as you progress and work with a crew, sometimes 2, 3, 4 years into it? How important is that?
It's everything. I mean, if you don't have that connection with your crew, and it doesn't have to be you're the best friends with every single person on your crew. It doesn't have to be that. If it is, good for you, man. That's amazing, right? I mean, I'm pretty close to my crew. We've been working together for a while now, and it's really fun. But it just has to be where you're interested. You know what I mean? Because you care about them. And what you said about connecting the dots, obviously collect them first, and that's a lot of work. And that's where a lot of communication comes in, where you're just going to be talking and talking and talking, and if you're not interested, it's going to be really hard to do. So you got to figure out, like, okay, let me look at each one of my guys or girls. Okay, this is what I really like about them. Let me focus on that, right? This is their strengths. This is why they're here. Obviously everyone can get better. I can get better. Everyone can, right? Don't focus on that. Focus on all the good things. And then that'll say, you know what? I really like this person. Glass is half full. And you know, you can make a good relationship with that person. Might not be best friends. It could be good friends or whatever friends. But when you have that type of rapport and you really know that person, then you can actually lead them correctly, because everyone is led in a different way on your crew. Not one thing works for every single person. Otherwise, there'd be no leadership books. Um, so that's why there's a span of control, right? Like if you to truly, not just to delegate, right? You could delegate to 1,000 people, like go walk through this field and look for a piece of evidence, right, on a crime scene or something, whatever. That's just delegation. But to truly lead someone, you can't do that for more than maybe 10 people tops. That's why the span of control is so small. It's like four to seven, 4 to 8, whatever. It's because to truly lead those people, you actually have to know them, and to know more than that many people that well is really hard to do. Like, to know what their strengths, what their weaknesses are in their life, what motivates them, and that's all different for every person. And you got to be plugged in all the time. That way, you're not missing any of that information too, because like it's not just you collect the dots and then you got all the dots, right? There's always more dots. There's tons of dots. There's always leaving dots, right? So you're always doing that, and to do that again, you have to have that vested interest, care about that person, care about who they are on the crew, and treat people like they should be treated, how you want to be treated. And you got to give them grace too. You know what I mean? Not everyone is going to have their best day every day, and I don't have my best day every day. That's for sure. Just ask my wife. You know, I wish I did, but when you can, really have a vested interest like that, when you can be humble about it too, really truly humble, just know that, hey, you know what, I don't do it perfect all the time. You could be vulnerable, right? That's when people will open up, because then they don't have to put their back up, right? They don't have to put their defenses up. They can open, a bit, actually let you in to what's important, and then wow, now you have like a real rapport. And now you know how to reach that person, how to train that person, how to lead that person, how to get them to do the hard thing, right? Because that's big time in our line of work, doing the hard thing, right? On certain calls, or you're getting wrecked, you're on back end of a 48, and but the rookie's got to do his training, his probationary testing is ending. We got to go to the tower. We got to get this guy through this thing, man. It's his job on the line, It's I'm sorry you were up all night running medicals or whatever it might be, but we're gonna go do this. So how do a person? A lot easier when I know them, when I really know what motivates them, and also there's give and take too. It's not all take, right? I used to think that the fire service was like a yin and yang, right? It's like this equal parts of fun and work, right? To where it's like we need to have like fun and work, otherwise you'll just, all work makes us a dull boy type of thing.
Exactly what I was thinking too.
But I've really found that it's got to be just a little bit more fun, just a little bit more, right? Because if it's equal, it's not quite right. It has to be just a little bit more, right? So how do we do that, right? It's different for every crew. I don't know. Like if it's, hey, we're gonna bust out, everyone's playing pickleball for an hour. You know what I mean? We're gonna do some good crew activity that we're together, not just in our bunks, ignoring each other. Like we're actually building something together, having fun. Or if we're after a fire, ice cream's on me, we're doing this. Let's go. You know what I mean? As cheesy as it is, it's freaking fun. No one frowns, right?
That's that team building though. It just looks a little bit different than the corporate hand holding type team building. We do it a little different in the fire service, So how long ago did you get promoted to captain?
10 years in June, so 9 didn't change.
Okay. When you were were you a driver prior to that?
Yes.
Or a fire? Okay. So when you were a driver and you moved into the right seat there, how did your perspective change as far as how you viewed leadership and how you viewed uh, responsibility?
So it's one of those things where it's like becoming a father. Everyone's like, it gets hard, and you're like, yeah, I'll figure it out. And then when you're there, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? And in the book and Modern Fire Officer, I talk about that, like trying to deal with fear, because that's something no one talks about, right? Is, hey, you're going to be scared, and that's fine. You can't let it make you immobile. You have to be able to figure out how to get past that. And for me, like I wrote in there, I think you read the book we talked
Yeah.
about from
Yeah.
before, yeah,
Actually, I just read
where
it a couple months ago.
I had bruxism, like super bad, like, which is where you grind your teeth. You're
Mhm.
you're you're so anxious, even at night. You're just like, your brain is just like getting back at you. Like, makes you
Yeah.
freaking grind your teeth. I had to go get like a bunch of fillings and everything, and so it was. Even though on the surface I looked, like the duck, calm and cool as it floats, but on below, your little legs are kicking. That's how I was inside. You know what I mean? So, and um, yeah, when you make that move over, um, life comes at you fast. And the unfortunate thing is, a lot of people, they look at that position and they think, if I'm going to come in and do this thing, I might as well do that thing and get paid
Mhm.
more. And they don't realize that all of a sudden, now that I'm in charge of everything, uh-oh, this looks a little different, right? Because it's funny when I train lieutenants, especially, to become captains, because at our department, the lieutenants are on the rescue and they have two
Mhm.
firefighters with them. Um, I have to keep pulling them back, pulling them back, pulling them back. They keep wanting to do like patient care or whatever. I'm like, dude, the whole scene, man, the whole scene. Walk backwards. You were way too close. Walk backwards. I'm supposed to do that now. You're supposed to look at the whole scene. And they're like, oh my God, like, there's cars coming in here. I'm like, yeah, you better do something about it. Figure it out, man. This is it now. And the thing is, when you get to that role, you got to stop that tendency of the micromanagement thing. You got
Mm.
to right away look to see who's around you and what they're good at and play to those strengths quick, because you cannot handle everything alone. I don't care if you're the best guy that ever walked the planet as a captain. You cannot handle all these things alone. You gotta work to everyone's strengths, right? So, and figure out what those weaknesses are and then build them up. And that's the training part. So once we can do that, we can kind of figure everything out. Okay, like this is where I'm weak, right? This is where we might be weak. We got to build that stuff up, man. We got to train this up. The rising tide raises all ships. And then, now that I've moved to this, right seat, so to speak, hey, I was scared. There's stuff I don't know, right? But I made that known. The crew knows it. I know what they're good at. They're going to help me. I'm going to help them. We're in this thing together. We're working hard. We're going to get to the certain point where we're going to be comfortable. And there's a bit of realism there too, where you got to understand that you won't know everything, and you're going to have to be okay with that. But have faith in your team, right? Don't go it alone, because then you'll really fall, man. You gotta have that faith in your team to work through it, but also got to be real that you will make mistakes, right? That you won't know everything. There's going to be things you've never seen before. That happens all the time. I mean, it. Everyone that's been a firefighter for more than a year knows it. Once they think that, oh man, I've seen this before, next call, what the
Yep.
heck was that? you know?
You basically jinxing yourself if you say it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned in there too, and you mentioned it initially as well, um, about being humble, about knowing that, look, I'm not going to know everything. How do you? So I kind of relate with a company officer aspect, that when I was on the bot, or when I was on the engine, and when I was on the truck or rescue or any position as a company officer, it was always, I may not know the answer, but I know where to get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And having those lifelines, having those resources. So let's roll back a little bit to the book you wrote, Modern Fire Officer. I read the book a few months ago, or a couple months ago, and love the book. It's a phenomenal book. It's actually a very needed book, and I think that this is one of those ones that could be. I definitely see it being utilized for like promotional exams, because there's a lot of great information in it. And one of the things I like most about the book is it actually digs into leadership. And I'm sure you've seen it as well, and that might be the reason why you wrote the book in the first place. Is that a lot of our company officer training tends to just be so tactics heavy and so skill heavy. And there's really minimal training for our leadership side of our fire officers, especially the company officer. So going back to your book there, what was the main goal of writing the book?
It's really for fledgling officers. And you said there was a hole there. And I've read a lot of the books out there on leadership, and there's like a lot missing in there. But one of the things that I noticed is they're all very textbook style.
Mhm.
And it's like right away to me, I hate learning like that. I hate reading textbooks. I don't want a bunch of bulleted stuff,
Mm,
every page bulleted stuff or whatever. Like I want it more like what we're doing right here. It's a conversation. This is me telling you something. I didn't want it with like a lot of war stories kind of thing. I just wanted like this is down and gritty. Like you'll make your own war stories, figure out what works for you. But really, like what's missing a lot of the leadership things is it starts with you way before you even walk into the fire station. It's building yourself to be someone anyone even wants to follow in the first place. You're not just going to walk in there and be like, all right, follow me today. You
yeah.
gotta, and unfortunately it takes a lot of background too. And in the book I talk about that. Like, well, hopefully, like when you were first hired and all through your career, you acted like someone people should get behind. Because if you didn't, man, you're in for it now. You're gonna have to,
Yeah.
rebuild
Struggle.
all those. Yeah, you're gonna be struggling, man. You gotta rebuild all those relationships that you messed up. Being a fool or whatever you were doing, and it's tough, but one of the other things too is that humility thing. A lot of books will talk about it, but they don't really tell you how to do it. It's just like be
Mm,
humble. But what does
yeah.
that mean? And really what that means is you give credit to everyone else pretty much because you did nothing truly on your own. I mean, you put the work in, sure, but someone taught you, you know,
Hmm.
your parents taught you, whoever was your mentor at the department taught you, somebody taught you everything that you know, right? And now you get the chance to turn around and do that, right, for somebody else. So that's where we can have that humble thing. And unfortunately, in previous eras, humility was looked at like, dude, you gotta stand up, chest out, and start screaming, or no one's gonna, pay attention. But
Pound your
that ain't
fist on
it,
the
man.
table.
Yeah, just because you're humble doesn't mean you should get run over at all.
Hmm.
You know, what it means is that you know what your principles are, right? You can be humble and set and put other people above you, but you know what your principles are, and you never break them. You never break them. Like these are what's important to me, and you have someone on your crew that is pushing back. This is say no, this is where my truth is, right? These are my principles, and this is how it will be. So you can be humble, but you can also be steadfast as well. But you can be both. And that's something that it's hard to teach, it's hard to learn.
Mm,
It takes a lot of work, but it comes from, the person that you want to be and that you have to build yourself to be, hopefully before you put the white shirt on. That way you're not feeling any type of imposter syndrome. That way you don't kind of mess things up to start, where you've made a bunch of poor rapport with the people in your station. Now I got to go back and fix it. So the sooner, anyone in the fire service or for that matter in life can look back and say, you know what, I want to work on these things on myself, build on these foundations on myself, know what's important for me, what I truly care about, those principles, those things, and make myself the person I want to be as much as I can, because that's a work in progress. It is hard. Then I can go and I can ask them to follow me when I put that white shirt on. And that's just it. You're asking.
so you mentioned there too about basically proving yourself as a follower before you become a leader, and then leading from there, and having those that followership, and having a reason for them to follow you. A leader of one is nobody. you're not a leader. You're just leading
Right.
yourself, which is something I don't even know what you would call that. But so weird question for you. And we know the 50-mile rule in the fire service, that you're automatically an expert if you go 50 miles away from the fire department that you work at, right? So,
Yeah.
question for you, when you wrote this book and the guys in your crew read this book, how did they take it? Did they look at you and go, oh, here's the captain's giving us a book, let's see what it's about? Or did they actually take it to heart? Did they, what was their perception of this, of you writing a book on company leadership?
They actually took it pretty good. Like a couple of the guys at the time, like very close friends. They know I wasn't totally full of crap. No, don't get me wrong. If I could live that way 100% of the time, I'd almost be a perfect man. You know what I mean?
Oh
And I'm
yeah,
not even
yeah.
close. So obviously, it's funny. There's a bunch of guys that they all know about it, obviously, at the fire department. So as soon as I do anything that's like slightly off, they're like, "Hey, did you read your book, bro?" Like,
They throw it back at you.
throw it right back at me. I'm like, "All right, you got me, you got me." You
Hold
know?
on, chapter 4, page.
Yeah. No, that actually a few of them were like, "You wrote that?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "That's pretty good, man." But a lot of I tell you, man, I put my crew above myself, and I really try to take care of them as best as I can. And I really think if you pulled any of them aside that's really worked with me and be like, dude, like, is this guy full of crap or not? They say absolutely not. And that's not trying to pat myself in the back. That's because I do really care about them, and I try my hardest to make that workplace a place that they want to go, a place that I want to go. I want to go and have fun. I want to go
Absolutely.
have fun with my friends and ride big trucks and be a hero and stuff. So I work hard to do that. And what's nice is that it's been working. And I've been trying to hone those different aspects of those different plans, right? Like I say, okay, I'm gonna try this, and ooh, maybe that didn't work so good. All right, forget that. But this did. Let's go full strength with that. Okay, yeah, this is working. That's the whole like culture building, right? Morale, whatever. And I look at the station as it's my kingdom, right? And I'm also the umbrella, right? When the crap rains
Mm,
down, it's raining down on me right here, right? And I don't care like what's going on scene, what anyone did. I will step in front of a bullet for sure, unless it's just gross negligence, like,
right.
which I mean, very rarely is anything even going to look like that. Then I'll step right in front and be like, I was on scene. It was my scene. I'm in charge. It's my issue. And the nice thing too is when you have enough time with the department, when you're a senior guy, it's like, dude, when if a chief comes to talk to me about it, I'll be like, bro, like, I know when you did the same thing, man, when we were on rescue, whatever, together 10,
Yep.
12, 15, 17 years ago, I saw you do the same thing. You know how it is. Sometimes you mess up,
My
but
position that I used to be in was literally doing all the investigations and everything, and that was one of the big factors. If I had someone come into an investigation and they were like, "Look, Chief, I screwed up. I'm taking ownership of it." It was, "Oh, well then let's make this a teaching moment instead of a
perfect.
discipline moment, and
Yeah.
this is easy." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the people who always were like, "No, I got to point the finger. Is that person? Is this person?" And when a leader does it, oh man, that put a bad taste in my mouth. That I get borderline angry when that one.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, attitudes, that's your biggest factor,
Hmm.
and really like leadership is just training attitudes,
Yeah,
training the right attitude. That's truly what it is. And if you have a good one, heck yeah, I'll take that over anything. I don't care if they don't know
absolutely.
anything. I'll take a good attitude because then they're trainable. You can train them anything.
Absolutely. So as we kind of close out here, I got one more question for you, and that kind of builds off of what you were just talking about, which is culture. Um, Building a positive culture, and you guys have a very good reputation at the organization that you work at. Like I think pretty much throughout the state of Florida, everybody knows those Boca as a very solid organization and one that a lot of people want to work at. So how do you build up that type of organization? How do you build that culture within not only the station, but the department itself?
I look at it as a couple different things. So number one, positivity all the time. Don't give in to negativity. Yeah, sure, there's going to be stuff that sucks, right? And stuff that's like, what the heck is this, right? Like during COVID, some of the memos we're getting, we're like, bro, this is insane. Like no hugging. We literally have a memo that says no hugging. Like, what's going on here? But you gotta keep a cool head, right? Everyone's got a boss, right? We're using that humility, we're using that empathy, we're putting ourselves in somebody else's place, right? I was a chief and the city manager is coming down and you guys are doing this and I don't want to be an international incident or whatever, then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna write the stupid memo. Don't hug. All right. There you go. You know what it so there has to do with that too, positivity. And a lot of times you need that empathy part, that or the humility part, to put yourself in a position to be like, all right, I get it. Right. So I can be positive about it or realign my perspective to where I can be positive about it. Okay, I can't do X, Y, Z or this change or whatever, but hey, 99% everything else is pretty dang good. Let's focus on that. So if I can do that constant perspective realignment, that's what's going to bring that positivity. And then they're going to look to you as the leader in that station for that positivity, and it'll grow from there. And then if you're really on it, you're going to say, hey, who's my informal leader here? I need to infect them with this positivity real quick, because
Yes.
when you leave the room, they're going to look to see, is this dude positive or negative about that, or this lady, So once you can really do that, you really got something moving, right? Positivity breeds positivity, right? But negativity breeds negativity, and negativity catches fire way more than positivity does. So you
Oh,
have
yes, it
to
does.
pump that positivity, whatever it takes. Like listen to your favorite music, coming to the station. I don't care what it is. Put yourself in that mindset and do that, and look for ways to do something for somebody else. Right. I don't care how long you've been there. Right. The rookie left his clothes in the dryer and went on a call. Fold it for him.
Yeah.
You don't think that dude would be looking for something to do positive? After that, he'll be like, "Oh my god, I got to do something nice." The
That's
captain
the
folded my.
it's the
Yeah,
internal and external customer service,
yeah,
it's
and
yeah, for
and
sure.
you work like that for your crew. You find nice things to do for them. They're gonna find nice things to do for each other. So it has to do with bringing that positivity, showing them what it should look like, and actually doing it because you care about them. And then it has a lot to do, to me. This might be my own thing, but it's a pride and ownership thing. But
Mm.
I want to go to the station. Like that's my um like bro zone type thing. I mean, I look forward to going there. We got our pictures on the wall. We got like the stuff that we like. We got our pickleball set up. We got whatever. You know what I mean? Like I want to go there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's funny because some of the hardcore guys are like, "Oh, you guys got to train constantly, whatever." But it's like, dude, all our wives know, right? They're like, "You guys pickleball and you did whatever." It's like, yeah, we ran calls too. We did some hard things. They're like, yeah, you guys have fun all day. But you should have fun, man. You got to
Yeah.
have fun doing this job, man. And I want the station to be like that. I want them to get there and feel like, oh man, I'm so glad. It's almost like a breath of fresh air a bit, like because you know how it can be sometimes. Say like you got a new parent, right? They're getting crushed
Mm.
at night. This is their 24 hours away from like
It's the
keeping
reprieve.
their kids
Yeah.
in diapers, and they're like, yes, I'm at the station.
Yeah.
And
But you
that's
want that
good.
feeling for those guys even when they don't have the kids at home that they're trying to get away
Right. You
from.
you want both, right? So you want it to be like, yeah, this is your home away from home. So what does that look like?
Absolutely.
And you got to
Absolutely.
figure it out. I know what it looks like for me, right? But for other people, like, hey, what would make you want to come here more? Like, what bothers you? Oh, the shower curtain doesn't go all the way to the floor. It lets water out every time, and then I got to squeegee it. All
Yep.
right, work order submitted. No more water on the floor. Okay, next. You know what I mean? It's just kind
Yeah.
of
The
like the
easy
little things
things.
that add
Yep.
up, right? And then all of a sudden, everyone is just like in on it, right? And this is our home. Like one of the things we do a lot is if we get like a new um, dishwasher or something like that. Because like firefighters treat this thing like WWF, man. Like they open the thing, slam it down, break the door, like rip everything out of it. You know what I mean? Usually the new guy go with who my informal leader is my driver, and he knows construction, and they install it. He shows them how to do it. Right, this is where the water hookup. This how hook up to the drain line, and you plug it in, yada yada, level it out. It takes time. All of a sudden, now he's not WWF and the freaking dishwasher. When he's doing the dishes. So he got a little pride and ownership. He's learned something, right? Because we've all been on the call where the dishwasher's leaking into the house. We got to pull it forward, turn it off, do whatever, So we're learning, right? But it's also this team thing, right? Where we did something together, right? We have something to show for it, and it matters because it's where we live. So all that kind of stuff goes a long way. And I know we're kind of in this era, at least in some paid departments, where we don't do anything. We just write a work order. But like, try to do it. Try to do it. Hang a light, put a picture up. Don't get crazy. Don't wreck the place, but make it a place you want to go, man. Make it a place you're looking forward to going. And that's my biggest piece of advice for culture is like, if you don't want to go there, you better fix it. Especially if you're the leader, man, you better figure out why. And then you got to make it a place everyone wants to go. And then you get that psychological safety, right? You get people that want to be there. They want to, be involved. And then when you ask them to do something like train, no big deal. It's not a battle. They're in a good mood. They're in the right mindset. They're happy. They're there. They're positive. You're positive, and it's not a cakewalk. It's not the easiest thing ever. It takes work, but it's a labor of love. And man, when those cylinders are firing, man, is that a good feeling, right? You get to work. People are like super excited around the table, drinking coffee. Everyone's like just like throwing jokes at each other or whatever.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You're like, man, this is going to be a good day, dude. And like, it doesn't matter what kind of calls you get, the best, the worst. You're just like, you just got a smile on your face. You're laughing, and that's what makes this job great, man. That's what I love about this job.
I love that. So create that buy-in. I mean, we live together for 24 hours at a time. Literally live together, build the house the way you want it, buy into the culture, buy into your crew. Absolutely love it. Jared, I really appreciate you coming on and talking today. Like I said, I read your book. I absolutely love your book. It gives a good breakdown of really what needs to occur to become a good company officer. So hopefully, I don't know what you're planning, but hopefully you have some more in the queue coming out.
I got an idea for one. I got to reach out to a few people about it because I want to do a little bit of a collab. So we'll see. I got to get in the right headspace and kick myself in the butt, so to speak. I've been like kind of chilling,
That'll happen. Get out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, again, Jed, I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to all the episodes coming up in the season.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching, guys. And special thank you to our guest, Jared Vermeulen of the Boca Raton Fire Rescue Department. Again, if you like this episode or any of the episodes, please feel free to go to our website, unbrandedleadership.com. Hit the contact us button and let us know your thoughts. Let us know your comments, what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear. And if you have any guests or any people that you'd like to hear on the podcast, let me know. Thank you, guys.